as we go through the next roundtable. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our first panel discussion coming up. I have asked Mr. Sheth to stay back to also moderate the next panel discussion for us. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to start inviting our other panelists for this discussion, starting with the Executive Director at Hindustan Petroleum, Mr. Gautam Choksi. I would also like to invite from Dwarka Gems Limited, Mr. Krishna B. Goyal, the Chairman of Dwarka Gems Limited and the convener of Silver Panel for JGPC. Let's have a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, as we have such illustrious guests joining us on the stage. Our next guest for the panel discussion is going to be Mr. Mohammad Ayyob, the General Manager for SAM Precious Metals. As he makes his way through the hall, I would now like to invite Ms. Belino, the Compliance Officer for Etihad Gold Refinery DMCC. As Ms. walks in, I would like to invite Mr. Vikas Nagpal, the Country Head FX and Bullion for ICICI Bank. We already have the digital place cards for all our guests. I urge you to please take your seats accordingly. I would like to invite Mr. Avadhani Sanagaram, the consultant for ICBC Standard Bank Limited. Inviting next Mr. Vijay Murthy, the CEO of Lead, Silver and Minor Metals at Hindustan Zinc Limited. And last but not the least, joining us online is the Head Bullion MCX and Director IIBH IFSC Limited and IIBX IFSC. Joining us online, Mr. Shivanshu Mehta. Mr. Mehta, you are being missed here physically, but I'm sure that there's lots that you can contribute to us wherever you're sitting and speaking from. Ladies and gentlemen, the topic of the roundtable discussion is a general discussion pertaining to the silver industry as a whole, the entire holistics of the silver industry. As Mr. Chirag moderates the session, now once again, let me invite you to make use of the tool that we introduced you to. You have a QR code on your tables. That QR code, can we, if possible, quickly show it once again, Prajakta? That QR code will once again come on the screen for the people who've joined us later. This is a tool that we are using. Please scan this code. This is Slido. And as Mr. Chirag takes over this session, at any point of time, you can go real time and post your questions here and they will be taken up. Also, any audience polls or anything, we will get instant real time results. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your first knowledge session. Make the best use possible of this galaxy on the stage. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So we've got a great panel. So we've got a question out there. Where do you see price of silver in the international market by end of December 2023? I urge all of you all to vote for it. So let's start a discussion. We've got a great panel here. Probably let's start with the domestic market and then we can move towards what's happening on the bullion side. Gautam, let me first come to you because we talked about industrial demand driving the big force behind growth in silver demand globally. How are we seeing the industrial segment in India, given the fact that there is a lot of focus of the government on through the PLI? We've seen some meaningful growth in the EMS segment as well. How do you see Indian industrial demand kind of shaping up?
Certainly now from the electrical side, the contact space, there is an uptick in demand. And with solar, the push for solar, I think in the coming years as the capacities increase in India, the solar-based demand is certainly expected to go up significantly, right? With the PLI schemes coming up. So.
But I absolutely hear you that the demand from the solar side is the big one that everybody is talking about. There's a lot of investment by Adani on that side, various players. But this, essentially we still not started manufacturing solar paste or powder in that sense. We are still very much dependent on import. I think last year we imported about 23 tons of solar paste, right? What is, despite that there is so much government support, there is anti-dumping duty which has been put in on certain countries. what is stopping Indian players is it the technology which is actually very difficult? Are foreign players interested in doing, partnerships in India? What is happening on that side?
So currently there aren't any meaningful players in silver paste in India, but I think as the demand is there, I'm sure there would be companies looking at indigenizing, and with the Atmanirbhar Bharat, they would want closer suppliers. So certainly I think you will see in the next 5 years or so domestic manufacturers for silver base.
Excellent. Vijay, how as India's largest miner and among the top 3 in India, how do you see this industrial segment essentially? Are you keen to focus on this side of the market? This is like 1,000-1,500 ton, consumption, each year. Are you looking at creating certain products which could help cater to the industrial side? Can we get the mic?
Hi, Chirag. Am I audible?
Yes.
Great. I think, as Mr. Gautam Choksi said, I think this is an area which seriously requires, I must say, introspection as well as real action on the ground. Whilst, as we discussed, 23 tons of solar paste coming into the country is minuscule considering our volumes. And whilst the government has been having this phenomenal push on the decarbonization side and the push on solar panels, I think the challenge has been that in India, it's still the solar part has been still in the fabrication of modules. The wafer and the cell manufacturing has still not taken off, whilst we are awaiting some of the large players to come in. And I did really hear recently that Indosol Solar has started off. But to the extent of the intensity of consumption, we are yet to see. And as a company, I believe it's been a very stated goal by Vedanta and by Hindustan Zinc in the past that we would want direct end consumption to be promoted in India. So we have been very focused on it. We would love to support this segment, and I think that's a clear area of focus for us. And your question whether we would be wanting to do any of those, it's a question of business opportunity. We strongly believe in the Atmanirbhar Bharat story. Governments should probably support with better PLI schemes in terms of how large manufacturers like ourselves with mining, with all the technical capabilities, how we can go downstream. Maybe that's definitely up for evaluation, and as a company, I believe with our CEO also being here, I think it's an area of clear focus for us. We would never shy away from working on all of those opportunities and definitely supporting the downstream industry.
Sure. Gautam, just again, coming to you on the industrial side. I think what we are, now increasingly seeing that more and more, announcements of semiconductor factories being put up in India, or even likes of Apple, Samsung putting up. As of now, a lot of these are assemblies, right? They are all bringing parts where silver is essentially used and assembling over it. Do you think those would go a step ahead, where a lot of those places where silver is essentially used will start happening in India? Are you seeing that kind of interest among those companies?
It's bound to happen. I mean, as the plants come online, it's a matter of time, as I said. Again, I think the industry needs to step up and get up to speed with the technology, and be able to, if the manufacturing is moving here, so will suppliers.
So you're saying that we'll have to put money in technology in that sense, and currently we are not ready for something like that.
That's right.
Right. Okay. Let's move on from probably silver to jewelry. Another big aspect of the Indian market. Krishna ji, we've seen that Indian jewelry, while domestic market has grown quite significantly over the last decade, our exports essentially has not grown to that extent. Where you look at our domestic market, domestic fabrication has virtually tripled over the last 10 years, from 700 tons to now about 2,000 tons. Whereas if you look at our exports have remained, has grown quite less compared to the domestic fabrication. Why is it that despite having artisans, despite, especially the silver industry has put in so much money on technology, we've not been able to achieve, phenomenal growth from that side?
You see, basically, we have a lot of issues in terms of availability of the duty-free metal for exports. Secondly, there has been the design innovation is one criteria where India has been weak in terms of exports. That's why we are playing between 3 million, 2.7 million dollars. So we need to really focus on untapped market.
Yeah.
Generally, whenever we look at the marketing side, every new exporter, they look at USA, they look at Europe, So they have their own limitations.
Right.
So when we'll start moving towards unconventional markets, I'm sure the growth can be exponential.
Sure.
At GJPC, for example, we have started working on that side. We are organizing BSMs in unconventional markets. In Jaipur, we recently had a show which we are trying to build as an international show. We had about 188 companies, 230 buyers visiting us. So the efforts are being put in there. And what I feel that in order to increase the demand, we need a body like World Gold Council to do the generic promotions, because that's what we are missing. Any individual have own limitations to promote silver or the jewelry. A lot was done by De Beers to promote diamonds. A lot has been done by World Gold Council to promote gold, and we are missing that out for silver.
Sure. Vikas, actually, I want to put you on a spot here. He said that duty-free gold is duty-free silver is a problem. What's the issue that you see that availability of duty-free silver is a challenge for the Indian manufacturers?
So, the thing is that duty-free, I feel that the duty-free, if you talk about gold also there is a duty, silver also is a duty. I don't think there is a challenge on more from a duty-free perspective. It is more from I will say that the exports, the way he's saying, is not picked up, and the export innovation is not happening. I think those are the challenges rather than it's a duty-free or duty charged. I don't think that is a challenge in the industry. So, and I think you also answered that there is a lot of volatility because of the investor demand and all. So, unless that volatility reduces, I think silver will not pick up.
Sure. Krishna, one very interesting thing which has happened in the last few years is India signing multiple free trade agreements with a lot of countries, right? Today, for example, we are now one of the largest buyers of jewelry from Thailand, silver jewelry. So India is importing a lot of a lot of silver jewelry from Thailand. Do you think that some of these FTAs where jewelry is involved does then impact domestic market as well?
I didn't got your question.
So I'm saying, today we are importing large quantities of silver jewelry from Thailand, right? India never imported these kind of, products. Because as India is signing more and more FTAs with a lot of countries, do you think involving jewelry imports as part of these free trade agreements is a problem for the domestic manufacturing?
You see, involving jewelry in free trade agreements, it certainly brings a lot of challenge for Indian manufacturers. But at the same time, you see, if we want to export and we want to export our markets, we certainly have to offer something on the plate. So the important is that we gear up ourselves and make us competitive, make us innovative, make us creative, so that we don't need to import. As I told you that maybe from industry perspective, but if you talk any silver manufacturer, they are facing the supply issue of raw material. On ground level, it is fact. Secondly, you see, the import duty is so high, which is not there in Thailand. So it puts pressure on capital investment of SME. They need bigger capital to do their business. If the same thing is reduced, 15%, which was earlier 2 to 3, 4%, a 10-15% of extra capital investment is a huge amount for any business to run. So if those things are taken care of, we have immense possibilities and creativity to grow our market.
Sure. Ayyob, since we are on the free trade agreement, and I think the one really talk of the town is the India-UAE SEPA and how it is changing the global silver dynamic, how do you look at this, free trade agreement and the resultant change in trade flows happening globally?
Thank you very much first for having us in here. Having us in here will answer you on why we're here, what did SEPA do to us. And it will answer lots of questions. Now, definitely, one of the most successful comprehensive agreements that ever happened is between the UAE and India. We've seen the privileges of that for the gold, but we did not see it for silver until just recently, until the end of last year and the beginning of this year. I'm happy to inform everyone that we were one of the largest contributors who assisted the trade in making this happen. So no doubt, having the emphasizing on the role that the SEPA can do and clarifying many of the rules and regulations and within this regard, it will definitely add a lot of value, especially to the UAE and the India trade.
Sure. Jamie, let me put a question to you. Is there a certain amount of probably a bit of I would say apprehension, fear that on the sustainability of the India-UAE SEPA, given the fact that I'm sure you hear from a lot of people saying that how it is impacting some of the Indian markets, how what is coming in is probably not right. Do you think that there is a bit of apprehension in the UAE market with regards to how long this India-UAE SEPA may remain?
Well, initially in the beginning, there were quite a bit of apprehension. Everyone is thinking this is a lot as a duty reduction, and will it be sustainable in the long run? But when we look at the SEPA agreement, it's not only going to benefit the UAE market, but more also on the Indian market as well. So I believe that the trade agreement between the UAE and India is both to support the industrial sector in precious metals, not only specifically in the UAE. So eventually, the duty reduction will help also the industry in India, and I think in the long run, the flow of the silver to India will all has to go through UAE once obviously the volume or the capacity of the refineries has also increased as well.
Sure. Avadhani, if I can come to you, how as a foreign supplier, as an overseas supplier, how do you look at this whole India-UAE SEPA thing and how it is changing the entire dynamic? Does it impact you? Because earlier probably you may be shipping your metal from a certain location. Does it change a lot of things for you?
Yeah. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a good question. We have been supplying gold and silver to India since at least 2.5 decades now. Silver predominantly, there's a huge growth in supplies, especially post COVID, 22 being the largest year where overall imports itself was something like 9,500, followed by something like 3,500, 4,000 tons in 23, and that is continuing now. There is not much change, I would like to say, that as far as international supply, as an international supplier is concerned, we continue to supply whether demand comes directly from nominated banks and agencies as a traditional method under which the imports happen to India, or under SEPA. There are certain changes obviously that will happen, which I call it as a transformation stage, probably next 1 or 2 years, that we will see for the metal coming into India through SEPA. Apart from directly coming under SEPA to the India market, in between we have IABX as well, which is another route which we need to consider. So as an international supplier, we need to look at internally the compliances, etc., which need to be clear before we go ahead and do it. Yeah, if you say that is there any change? Yeah, there is a change. It's a transformation change that is happening, and we are hoping that for good. India market being eternal for gold and silver, as Mr. Mishra was mentioning, that Ramayana days, we can go back to even Vedas days where we say in Rig Veda, like to quote, sorry, I'm taking you a little far away, Hiranyavarnam Harinim, Suvarna Rajatasrajam, Lakshmim, etc. It keeps on saying in Sri Suktam in Rig Veda, which says that gold is compared to sun and silver is compared to silver, and these two are eternal so long as sun and moon are there existed in the universe. So to that extent, India demand always continues for these two, and we have to keep ourselves ready at any point of time to supply the metal to India market. With regard to SEPA supplies in particular, how to go about, positive side is, yes, it is good for us. Technically, if you see, the payment comes much faster compared to the consignment side where you have to block the metal for 30 days. As of now, the consignment supplies are more like what you call Indian monsoon. You never know when the changes happen, how the farmer has to look at the sky and hand on the land waiting for the rain to fall. Same way here, once we supply the metal and demand is there, something like 500 tons, 1000 tons, there's no limit for that. Once the metal lands here, when the prices go up, any small hiccups, some through other agreements, etc. happens, somewhere or the other metal gets stuck. So that is actually a challenge for us that is happening, which is perennial in nature since last at least 10 years. We are hoping that, under SEPA, that challenges might not come, especially when we route the metal through IABX. Yeah.
Vikas, you want to?
I want to add, see, I think there is a lot of people talking about inconsistency in demand, and it's largely because of, you also said, as I said, investment demand, there is a lot of volatility, and in jewelry, innovation is not happening. Industry demand is 30-35%, is going to grow. Let me give you this thing. See, there's a lot of research which we do in ICICI on various sectors and all. As of today, I'll tell you, the power sector, the capacity utilization is 75 to 78% today. And I feel, and it's our view is that it may go up to 85-88% because the new power capacity which is coming, and there are new the power plants which are getting set up, maybe solar, maybe coal, or maybe thermal. There's a lot capacity which is there. The power generation companies are planning that will come in next 3-4 years, and there is a lot of PLI schemes which are running, and there's a lot of demand, industry demand which is coming in manufacturing and various sectors. Recently we were talking to Apple supplier Foxconn. They have set up a big unit in Tamil Nadu, and they are plan to come in Bangalore also. So my sense is, the way you were telling that industry demand is going to go up, for sure it is going to go up, and maybe it will go to 50-60% very shortly, you will see. And this will bring more consistency. Sure. And because it will be throughout the period, which Avadhani was also talking about today, volatility, this will probably not be there because there will be consistent demand there.
Sure. Because I want to come back to you, but I'll first take these two questions, and Gautam also, I want your view on something that Vikas mentioned. But this is an interesting question, Vijay. The first one, if you see how the import of silver from UAE SEPA is impacting Indian miners. Are you seeing any impact as such? Is it that the market has gone into discount? Does it impact your profitability?
As of now, I think early days, since this has come through, there was some bit of lull after a few shipments came in. And we have seen some amount of volumes coming in. My only belief is that we are in a globalized world today, so it's not that you can be fighting against the forces of globalization, but important is the compliance and everyone ensures that the right spirit of the understanding of the code is duly honored. I think that's the most important thing. For us, I think in a 7,500-8,000 ton market, we are about 10 to 12% of production. We have a way to go to produce more, but I think the market will find its own level. But I think in today's situation, most important is to ensure that there are no loopholes. The government ensures that the spirit of the law and the understanding of the treaty is duly honored. I think that's the most important thing for all of us as a country, and this has been across multiple metals, multiple commodities. I think that is where government needs to keep its eyes and ears open to feedback and make sure that there are no loopholes there.
Sure. I want to ask you.
I think India is just, with all the free trade agreements that have been signed, this is going to be the new norm.
Yeah.
Right. I think the days of 15% import duty is gone. I think market's already corrected and it's already trading at roughly the landed cost of the SEPA. I think about our friends here have supplied maybe 1,000 tons or so already to India, and I think this trend is going to continue.
Yeah. So
differential is too much to leave on the table.
Yeah, sure. I don't know if you ever get to hear this, but in India, lot of this talk is going on saying that why is SEPA only benefiting certain refineries, or why is the benefit not being passed on? How do you look at some of these arguments that are being made?
Chirag, this is a very good question actually, and I've been always facing this and trying to find a proper answer for this. So you would generally go to someone whom you are sure that he will be able to cater to your demand.
Yeah.
And you need someone who can cater your demand at the right time. So I would say maybe it's a capacity thing. We went, the moment that we had this silver kickoff of SEPA, we went investing heavily into infrastructure, enabled to cater the increasing demand for this. I think this is something that was appreciated by the stakeholders, and hence this is why they are coming to us and say, let's go and do it. And then when you come to someone and they needed their supply or they needed their service in a very fast time, enabled for them to catch a right price or a right trade, and then you cater there for them.
Yeah.
You can do it. But then the UAE is not only for me or for other or for anyone else. It is a very good platform for everyone to participate. Maybe because this is a very recent new relationship, but it is an eye-opener for the international market. And I am aware of a few more refineries who will be joining the platform, enabled to cater the same continuously increasing demand. But again, it is a matter of very nice competition. I like what you mentioned on compliance and making sure that we are doing the right business in the right manner. But I am still informing everyone that yes, the UAE is a great platform for businesses to come and start in the UAE to cater this part of demand. And it's a vice versa. Yes, there are increasing demand from the UAE into India. At the same time, if you look at the other terms of SEPA, there is another privilege from India to UAE in another manner, in exports, in jewelry, on so many other aspects. We need to look at the SEPA agreement in a comprehensive way, not only as one line, why silver, or why SAM, not Etihad, or one and this. So it's overall we need to look at it from a comprehensive point of view.
Sure. Jamie, do you want to,
In our case, as much as possible, we try to cater as a service provider. We try to cater for the demand of our existing customers. So we had to make adjustments on, as Ayyob said, there was an increased demand, and now we have to support all of our customers to make sure that we are not leaving anyone behind. So it's a matter of planning the production, and also apart from silver, we are also producing gold. We couldn't just focus on the silver and then leave out the gold. So it's a very delicate balance on how we are going to continue with the production, not also stretching our internal capacity to reach to a limit that we don't want any issues later on. So we have to make sure that each of the steps that were required by the SEPA agreement to issue the CEO is also being followed. So it's right now, I think for the last since last year, it's a matter of adjustment, and I think eventually once the capacity already increase, then for us we could that's our goal to service everyone, or especially our existing customers.
So let me ask this slightly controversial question, but I think you both are the best people to address the elephant in the room. A lot of people say that the 3% value addition, is it really the 3% value addition? And I'm sure you would have heard about this thing as well. How do you address this kind of questions which keep on coming up, that whether there is actual 3% value addition?
Yeah, so in order for a refiner to issue a CEO, we have to submit certain information that has to be documented as well with regards to how we came up with the value addition. So there is overhead cost involved, like the cost of the logistics, and then also our production cost. And this will have to be submitted by to the Ministry of Economy, and they are going to verify the information if the CTSH rule has been applied and also the value addition is correct. And then the ministry is going to issue the certificate of origin. So there is a certain steps that you need to do in order to the ministry to actually issue the CEO. So it's...
Ayyob, do you want to comment on this?
Let me just say it rightly. I wanted to tell you that for the Ministry of Economy to be able to issue you a certificate of origin, they need to make sure that you're complying with all the rules and regulations of the agreement within the sale. I would really emphasize on cost of doing business in the UAE is not cheap. Manpower, operations, you name it, chemicals, everything has increased drastically. So really to answer your question, I would need to sit with you and start breaking down whatever the costs that we have. But yes, we are complying.
Sure. Do we have Shivanshu on line? Is there, right? Shivanshu, if I can ask, if I can bring you in, one thing which has been said over the last few years is how financialization of the precious metals market has taken place. And we've seen financialization of gold which has taken place while new products have come in. What do you think is the role that exchange can play in better financialization of the silver market?
Yeah, thanks. I think that's a very broad level question. I'll try and address it to cover various minute contributions toward the said objective. Number one, of course, is that volatility has been voiced by various speakers before me. I was listening avidly. So volatility is best addressed via risk management, and especially in a commodity like silver, which is known as the white snake or whatever, widowmaker, etc. The point is that it has tremendous volatility. There is a disparity in the Indian markets which prevails for various reasons, and you yourself pointed out a few policy-related ones. I mean, even during the times of COVID, we saw the highest deliveries because the spot and the futures integration found itself meeting via the MCX deliveries in September 2020. Of course, that was just some 140 odd tons. It'll be, I'm sure some of us will not be knowing, but then we had almost 400 tons plus of deliveries this year, which has just gone by, of silver, which I'm sure might be one of the highest ever in a given year. Having said that, spot to futures integration, risk management, options is coming of age when it should be right now, when we saw the move of silver from X to Y. And we just recently hit an all-time high turnover of 30,000 crores in the silver 30 kg contract. So disparities being met by way of delivery, a sort of comfort level in the price by both the buyer and the seller That is where the exchange comes in. And the fabrication, margins should be protected. The capital should not be invested in buying the raw material fully. It should be, the hedging portion of it should be done on the exchange by paying a margin, whereas you keep your capital free for the actual business where it belongs. That is where we come in. Asset class, yes, your point is very valid. I think gold is well established. We were the first to launch the gold 1 gram contract deliverable format. But in silver also, we launched the retail-oriented 1 kilogram deliverable unit, which has done exceedingly well over the past 3 years or so now, by having seen more than close to 300 tons plus of delivery via that route. So retail is coming in. Of course, I don't discount other modes of investment like ETF, and now we have ETFs which are able to again leverage and keep the base on exchange traded commodity derivatives instead of the actual physical silver. Of course, there are a few challenges there which the industry has been voicing, that they should be benchmarked on the domestic price in order to remove the tracking error. Then that asset class aspect would further get developed. Like we have international ETFs which are doing exceedingly well, like iShares, etc. Just an example. You would see that because there is a penchant and a hidden understanding of silver in India. As you know, India controlled the international silver market way back. Anyway, that was a long time back, but then you often hear that there are households in India which are actually keeping on to silver as a safety haven, not only gold. So I dare say, I think all these aspects we continuously monitor, and we continue to launch newer products which are even of a lower premium, which cater to the masses at large. And the other heartening thing I'll quickly tell you is that if you see the presence of writers in silver options, it's quite heartening to note that the people who are the physical traders sitting in Ahmedabad, etc., they are the ones who are actually utilizing their or monetizing their inventories by actually writing options, taking the premium, and thereby providing the retail an opportunity to participate by paying a fixed premium and remain open. So it's a nice, beautiful story which is unfolding. We are happy to contribute to this, and we'll be happy to take any suggestions that there are from the audience.
Sure. Just one point to everybody who's asking questions. It would be great if you could write your name. That way, we could address the issue. But Shivanshu, coming back to you, I want to ask you one thing. When will domestic spot exchange see its light? Because we've been talking a lot about the domestic spot exchange. IBX has now started its operation, but when will domestic spot exchange? Because I think that will help silver investment demand further, because that takes away the whole process of storing silver, right? I could do an SIP into that, people could create structured products on that. So when do you think the domestic spot exchange will see a daylight?
I think, while IBX has been, we are co-promoters there, and it is starting to see good volumes initially. But the point is that on the domestic side, just like the EGR, there is a working group which has been formed by the regulator, and the industry players and associations are part of it along with us. I think the initial hurdles of the GST really need to be sorted out at the depositor level, because essentially, if you see, like you rightly said, that spot is where the investment demand should ideally come. Why? Because in India, I think we have a very liquid futures market which ends with delivery, with compulsory delivery. So people are actually using that today, so which is a monthly periodical or a bi-monthly month.
Isn't that
but once we have a spot,
Shivanshu, sorry, but isn't that portion very, very small, right? The amount, what is the percentage of people actually taking delivery on some of these future contracts? Isn't this less than 2-3%?
Yeah, so which is where internationally, yes, that is the what they say is delivery of last resort. But I think that is internationally B2B oriented statement. when we talk about retail customers, we see a lot, like I said, silver 1 kg bar is a testament basically that the retail is taking that as a very popular product. And this we had done in 2020. So in 4 years, if something is doing 300 tons in the 1 kg bar format, it is not B2B. Definitely retail's fancy is there. My point is that I take your point about the spot being the actual solution there, right? So to make the spot as a like you already have the EGR as a tradable segment, right, on the same platform. So the same people will be able to utilize that. But then we must root out the problem. It can be tomorrow. It can be subject to policy. It can be spot silver, right? I'm just saying, let's say the spot silver contract. Yes. But then the GST issues and other such related issues have to be sorted out by us together. Only then can it be a success, because depositor is not going to be retail. Depositor will always be a B2B person. And if he loses GST, then it's just a non-starter, right? Sure. So that's where we all are working, and we need to work and sort it out. And then maybe the spot contract is also an ideal platform. Yes.
Sure. This question is to the two. You want to, Avadhani sir, you want to come in on something?
I'm seeing so many questions there pertaining to 3%. 8 out of 10 questions are about 3%. I'd like to just give a brief of that. As I mentioned earlier, it is a transformation stage. It takes time.
Yeah.
It is a policy between two countries. 3% is given. Somewhere or the other, we have to draw a line. We have to define the 3%. And internally, as an international bank or domestic banks, somewhere they have to explain to various departments that is what exactly it is. And ensure that the process flow is proper, and define clearly that Vyaparam Droha Chintanam is not there. Business is cheating, that is not there. It is very clearly live and let live.
Sure.
That line has to be clearly defined. Once that is defined, then the supplies will definitely be smoother.
Sure.
Now the question arises why supplies are happening only to few traders. They are the one who took the initiative. They really worked hard for this. They have worked hard not only on behalf of bullion industry, also with the government, with externally with Dubai government as well. Again, the intention is not to gain the benefit. Even if they gain the benefit, it's purely short term.
Sure.
Because the policy is for the entire country. Ultimately, everybody will be there in the picture. One more question I saw about nominated banks playing a role under SEPA. Yes, definitely. Government is not stopping nominated banks to import onto SEPA. It's only the clarification, my understanding, personal view, I'm saying, correct me if I'm wrong. It's when it started, when it came to 1 or 2 locations, those locations probably customs authorities were not aware that this is what exactly it is. There is a SEPA contract, it has to be at 9%, 15%, etc., etc. So there were certain letters issued with various questions. I heard something like 90 questions were there, which got reduced to 46 questions by somebody, a renowned, importer, explained to the authorities very clearly that this is what it is. They have understood. Hopefully, very soon, we will see those clarifications are given. And those who did these transactions, we have to really appreciate the banks for taking that aggression, importing that. By then, the IABX route, whatever the silver that was imported, they had understood this business. Maturity level was much high as far as this business is concerned. Traders, they played their role and ensured that the business goes smooth, and it has happened. Now it is open for everybody. I think because of the present price scenario, imports are not happening. Too much of stocks in India. Probably, who knows, from next month onwards, we may see silver coming in under SEPA through nominated banks as well.
Sure.
I hope I have covered most of those questions.
Thank you.
If anything is left out,
Because do you want to make a comment?
No, I think what Avadhani is saying is, when it started, there was a lot of discussion, debate, and there was a lot of deliberation with customs. The stocks was stuck and all, and that's why where the banks became not very comfortable at that time. with more clarity coming in, with a more this thing, I think probably more deliberation will happen, and then bank can also look into it.
No, sure. Look, to be very honest, I think some of the questions which have been put out doesn't make sense. I think Avadhani clearly mentioned that the players who benefited have put in that effort of creating their supply chains, of having contacts. So absolutely, at the end of the day, we are in the business world. Everybody's got an opportunity. The one who puts in effort benefits out of it. Yes.
Ultimately, this custom duty reduction will happen under SEPA. From now it is 8%, then followed by 7, 6, 5, was finally to 0. Obviously, we will not see the direct imports at 15% happening. Then most of the players will understand the IABX route and SEPA route, even the international banks also, and other traders, international corporates will definitely start supplying through IABX. So naturally, the question of difference doesn't arise at all. It will have a natural death. That's what I feel. And that may take maybe 1 year, 1.5 years. So by end of next year, maybe I don't think we are going to see this 15% will be only on paper.
Because I want to ask you this thing, IABX is now a reality, right? It's here to stay. When do you think bankers would actively start participating on the IABX platform? And this is a question to both of you. A, as a domestic buyer, and B, as an overseas supplier.
So I'll tell you, I'll talk about IABX. In fact, banks started participating on IABX in this thing as a clearing member. We already have a clearing membership and all. Now in February there was a guideline came where we can act as a trading member also. So we are working internally on that. So I think banks are keen to work on that, because there will be a lot of customers who are not accessing to the exchange directly. They are like bank, they have a good network of customers in tier 2, tier 3 locations, right? So where they can't access, or they don't access the exchange directly, where bank can act as a conduit and work with them, and of course with the logistic partners we have a reach and we can supply metal in all sectors and all. It will play a very important role, and banks would be keen to do that, I think. Sure. It will give more liquidity on the exchange, it will give price discovery, so I think that will happen over a period of time.
Vijay, I want to ask you this, as Avadhani pointed out that eventually the duty-free silver starts coming in when SEPA goes to 0, right? As a domestic supplier, does that impact your business to some extent?
See, technically, as we said, that's a statutory agreement between two countries, and two countries have come and signed the SEPA, so that's very much the case. The point is, it's going to take time, as we said, and immediately, as Mr. Avadhani said, it's a progressive reduction of 1% over next 8-9 years. So the market is very dynamic, market will find its level, and as of now, as we said, the market was very volatile in the last 6 to 8 months. There were issues and confusion around the clearances. So we've been seeing some volume now, but I think it will take some time, as Mr. Avadhani said, maybe a year or two for things to get clarified. And then there's the entire global geopolitical thing going on. You don't know how relationship between countries change over a period of time. So a lot of these can have ramifications over a period of time, but I would rather say it's more a wait and watch. It will take its own time.
I'm just saying that. Shivanshu, I want to ask you this thing, as more and more UAE good delivery silver starts coming into India, UAE good delivery gold starts coming into India, would it not be prudent for M6 to start accepting UAE good delivery bars?
I think this question has been asked by a few people as well. So currently, there was a time when we had the UAE good delivery, one of the refiners present, on the exchange. I don't know names. The other thing is that today, apart from LBMA, we already have a list of Indian good delivery refiners, which we have, created a thorough process for, of audit, technical, financial, etc. both screening as well as annual, and only then they get empaneled as the good delivery refiners. So we'll have to seek out a marriage between that kind of a process plus what the LBMA does and what the DMCC or the UAE good delivery it's just like the IIPXL contract. So I mean, whatever the history has been, but yes, that thought is already there in one of the suggestions. We will take it to our PAC and other such committees, and especially with the silver grains coming in, there was some request from the industry, and then we can further deliberate on this. But yeah, it could provide a direct platform. If the policy is set, if it is government approved, if that is well established, which it is, and then there is a monetary or a numerical element to the landed price, and then conversion, etc. So we are looking at all these things, and ultimately, if the market wants a product, we can always be dynamic enough. Yeah.
Questions myself. Sorry about that.
Go ahead.
I'd like to take on the three questions out of four. Ibjawan, I do not know the answer, sorry. 2,900 tons increase in January, February imports due to SEPA or higher demand. This is actually higher demand because the prices were a little low at that time. Physical demand was there. Actually, SEPA wrote out of that 2,900. Correct me if I'm wrong, you are the encyclopedia. It must be around 1,000, 1,100. Not like that. Rest all came through banks.
Yes.
By mid of March, the prices started going up. And not entire 2,900 has been has entered into the market.
Absolutely.
It is in a part of that stock, and almost 30% of the stock is still lying in vaults. Yeah. Next question is: does the import of silver from least developed countries provide a level playing field? I don't think so. I do not know how much silver is coming from LDCs.
But also we see, essentially we've got as a country multiple duty structures which essentially has to stop. You can't have a country where there can be 5 duty structures available. It doesn't provide level playing field to anybody in that sense. This is not just the case of silver, but you've got this in gold as well, where you've got 15%, 14%, 10%, 11%, 1%, 2%. In any country, having 6 or 7 duty structures, doesn't provide level playing field to anybody at the end of the day.
So the question, how were they charging 10 to 12 cents in premium earlier before SEPA? Even after SEPA also, it is still 10 to 12 cents premium. We are supplying metal if it is supplied through sea, through nominated banks and agencies. We are supplying at 10 to 12 even today. If it is by air, obviously the freight costs, the time taken for getting the metal into the country are much faster. In 7 days to 15 days, you can see the metal at your doorstep. So obviously the cost is high, where you have to pay sometimes as high as 30-35 cents, otherwise around 20 cents being the normal premium. That's it, I guess. Yeah.
Gautam, can I ask you, one question? As probably the share of SEPA increases, and eventually it will as the duty differential increases, right? As a good daily refinery, does that impact your business? Or do you think people would come to you to convert these bars into good daily bars?
We're already seeing that. Converting grains into bars for delivering on MCX. That's always there, and I think more so in the last few months it's picked up with all that silver coming in, because Shivanshu, thank you by the way. The grains aren't deliverable yet, so they're sending over grains to us to convert. But I think certainly, there'll be an equilibrium, right? It'll level out in some time where if good delivery bars are coming in from the UAE as well, and if they're good delivery acceptable on MCX, it will be deliverable.
Sure. Krishna, do you get the benefit passed on to you by, essentially, let's say, if you buy from large bullion dealers who are involved in this, does the trade get the benefit passed on? Because there has been a lot of that talk as well, that yes, there is gold coming in, there is silver coming in, but the trade is not benefiting out of this.
It's actually the manufacturer is not getting any benefit out of it. Generally, all the manufacturers, they are getting the prices which are on the market.
But then what stops larger manufacturers to start importing SEPA through IBX then? If the manufacturers are not getting the benefit passed, I'm sure I would be more than happy to increase the supply as well. But what stops the manufacturers from directly applying through SEPA?
You see, basically, I think might be the lack of focus, because a manufacturer, they focus more on his product development and his marketing, instead of sourcing the bullion for that.
Sure.
So that is the major reason.
Sure. This question is interesting. Is the source of origin known and certified via SEPA route?
This applies, I guess, for both gold and silver. It doesn't apply only for silver and not for gold.
Absolutely.
What I wanted to tell the person who asked the question, it's a great question. SEPA is basically involve a UAE good delivery refiners, where we have a certain rules and regulations to follow, including supply chain and responsible sourcing. So yes, this is been verified currently, and we are questioned to the accreditation body to answer these questions.
Probably can you also, probably a lot of people may not know, but the recent regulation which has come in on responsible sourcing in UAE, if you could just throw a broad light on that, what is it and how y'all are?
Well, I guess in 2021, July, UAE has taken a very strong approach towards the responsible sourcing, anti-money laundering. We've been recently out of the grey list right now, so you can see the amount of work that the UAE have deployed. Similarly, it applies on all other sectors, including real estate, including gold, including everything else. But now the ministry itself is the one involved on the accreditation of the refiners, and it used to be a Dubai good delivery, whereas now on a federal level as a UAE good delivery. And this has been put on carefully, having the right people in place, rules and regulation, everything has been clarified and identified. And we, as a UAE good delivery refineries, we have to follow and report everything to the authority, renewing our accreditation every year.
Sure. Yes.
I would like to add, I think most of it we covered. As far as ICBC Standard Bank is concerned, when we supply silver or gold under SEPA to India, which we have not instructed. Gold, very soon we are starting, probably in 1 month or 2 months. Silver may take some time. We supply LBMA, large bars, to the refineries in Dubai. Without commingling, we ensure that the Dubai good delivery bars are manufactured and then supplied to India under SEPA. At any point of time, if they want to track it, we are ready to provide the information.
Sure. Vijay, I want to ask you this thing, IBX is essentially a platform for a two-way trade, right? Eventually, the idea is for India to start, exporting metal out, As a miner, is that something which you would like to explore, where you would be able to export silver bars out of India?
Exporting silver out of India is, as being a net importer from many years, I think it's all the economics of it. So finally we need to be cognizant of what are the benefits, and from a geographical diversification perspective, if we do get opportunities in other growing economies where there could be potential SEPA equivalent treaties where there is opportunity to put up something like, for example, one of our group companies already runs a precious metal refinery in Fujairah, which I think you are aware of. So I think that's very important to know what the intergovernmental understandings come through. If there are opportunities in due course, I think we should evaluate. But at the current moment, India being a net importer, we are about 10 to 12% of the market. We would love to promote the consumption of Hindustan Zinc, proudly made in India for India.
Sure. So since we've just got...
I would like to add, as far as the export is concerned, I would like to say that we can take the advantage of export promotion zones which are there, like Gift City. If Hindustan Platinum, Hindustan Zinc delivers large bars, which are LBMA bars, into Gift City, why not? We are ready to purchase. Yeah. Ultimately, that will be supplied to India market. Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Do you think that is something that should be eventually allowed, where domestic refineries should be able to export via IBX?
One wouldn't usually do that if it's, duty paid material.
Yes, of course.
If there was a way to get back the duty,
yes,
why not? But there are opportunities at times when there are tolling contracts and we have to export the silver anyway. That might throw out opportunities to export to Gift or Sri City as well.
Sure.
We've done that in the past.
Sure. So we'll start from there, since we've got just 5 minutes left. Maybe each one of you all one comment on what do you see as a big development in the Indian silver market over the next maybe 3 to 5 years. Vijay, let's start with you.
Thank you. I think just to summarize, I think I personally feel the Indian market is pretty much poised. A couple of things. One, demographically, younger population coming in, the lure for gold slightly coming down in terms of the younger population loving more fashionable jewelry. So I really see a good outcome there in terms of silver jewelry, for the younger crowd. So that's probably one, I would say, highlight trend we need to probably track for the years to come. Two, the decarbonization efforts and the serious efforts which as a country we need to make in developing our own capabilities in manufacturing of wafer and cell for the solar side. I believe that's a great opportunity. And three, as we spoke earlier in the day, I think we need to produce more in the country. We've been obviously importing a few thousand tons, but as much more we can produce in India, make for India, I think that's the objective in the longer run, wealth creation for the nation. Excellent. Thanks.
As an international supplier, so far we have been looking at only supplying metal to India. So the change that we are anticipating in the next 5 years that might be a reality is India will not be an importer alone, it will be a trader. So we will see more of import as well as export. So we will be doing two-way business for Indian precious metals.
Jamie?
As a UAE to delivery refinery, so what we could add is to increase our capacity right now to cater for the volume that the India needs, and also as much as possible service everyone in the market to ensure that all of the traders or all of the supply chain actors have an access to our services.
I think next decade would be more of an India decade. There's a lot of, as my colleague said, my friend said, it's a young India. There's a lot of vibrancy, and we have seen there is a lot of, we have seen in the equity market also rallying so much, and there is a lot of money which is flowing into mutual fund industry as well. So my sense is, if you see the ETF, silver ETF, since we are talking about silver, in April 23, I think the AUM was around 1800 crore. If you talk about today, it's 4000 crore plus. So there is a money which is flowing in, and I think the investor is an intelligent investor. They are trying to diversify, and not only into the equity but also into the other asset classes. So the investment demand is also going to go up. Plus, there's a lot of traction on the Make in India manufacturing, and I think the PLI schemes, the way they are running, there's a manufacturing demand will also go up. So net, I think I see a lot of potential, both in the investment as well as the industrial demand, as well as in the jewelry as well.
Sure. Ayyob?
Well, absolutely, the potential is very high. And looking at India and the way that the growth and the future and the potential businesses, I think every smart investor should be looking at coming to use such platforms, use the relationships between the two governments and able to try and do more. In India, there's enough market for everyone. I think with the increasing demand, I think there's enough room. And in return, we need to look at what can be possibly done from India to Dubai from the manufacturing point of view into the consumers. Dubai is a very important hub and a transit market for the region itself. And I believe it will be a very good attraction for all the international community now to go to Dubai and start doing more and more businesses.
Sure.
See, for me, India, the silver is new gold. If we see, the India didn't have only appetite for gold, but it always had also for silver. If we go to the villages, the ladies used to wear the kadas of 500 gram each, 1 kilo each, and that appetite is still there. I see there are a lot of untapped areas like men's jewelry. Still, if you look at the brands, there is no one who is focusing only on silver. So next 4 to 5 years, I think in India, with increasing working women population and the desire for adornment, will give a lot of new areas of business opportunity.
Gautam?
Certainly everyone talks about the potential for industrial side to grow. Well, it's going to happen as India gets more industrialized, but what's happened in PGMs, high silver price shouldn't be a dampener there. Like make certain products unviable or certain technologies unviable, and then look for alternate technologies. So we're already in high 20s right now for silver, but if it gets to 50 or 40, certain products may not be. But nonetheless, I think certainly the volume growth will be there, and it's heartening to see the good demand for investment bars and smaller, denominations at these prices, all-time highs.
But Gautam, just I'll go to Shivanshu just a minute. But Gautam, I want to, since you mentioned this, so what you're saying is probably if silver prices moves to $40, there's significant thrifting will take place. What are these such segments where you will see significant amount of reduction in silver usage?
Tough to say right now, but I'm saying even if you need, it's like I'll just draw the analogy for auto catalysts, right? Where palladium prices went up, they started looking for substituting with platinum or so. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes a while. So for viable alternatives to be developed, it would take a few years. But if it goes to 50 and comes back down to 20, then you're back to square one.
Shivanshu, your final comments, please.
No, I think you have all paraphrased it very well. See, even what Gautam is just articulating, for the hedger, there should be instruments available, which there are, which we further fine-tune. For the investor, he has to have a source of quality assured, dematable, electronically holdable, accumulatable silver, and finally deliverable in a very easy format, which is quality assured. It comes with a certificate, assay certificate, and you don't have to worry about holding it or taking delivery. Whenever you want, you can take the delivery out at nominal charges. So I think this is where we are trying to further pitch in, and I think these markets become more and more liquid when asset classes catch the retail fancy, and then they remain more liquid, and that's how development takes place. So I think that's where we would like to fit in.
Thank you very much. We've got the results of the poll. One thing which the two miners in the audience would be happy that majority of the people expect silver prices to be about $34. Thank you very much. You've been a patient audience, and thank you to my stellar panel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. May I please request you to stay back on the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a very interesting session, a very interesting discussion as well. Before I move further, I know you're all anticipating awards now. May I first invite our chairperson of the session to kindly present a memento to each one of our speakers this evening. So we would like to start by presenting a memento to our first gentleman who arrived on the stage. the Executive Director at Hindustan Platinum, autocorrecting sir, Mr. Gautam Choksi. Gentlemen, ladies, let's have a round of applause. Please stay back in the hall. A big thank you to Mr. Krishna, Goyal ji, the Chairman, Dwarka Gems Limited. Mr. Mohammad, Ayyob, the General Manager for Sam Precious. Ms. Belino, the Compliance Officer for Etihad Gold Refinery. Mr. Vikas, Nagpal, the Country Head for FX and Bullion, ICICI Bank. Mr. Avadhani, Sanagaram, the Consultant for ICBC Standard Bank PLC. And finally, Mr. Vijay, the CEO for Lead, Silver and Minor Metals for Hindustan Zinc Limited. With this, as we say, a big thank you to Mr. Shivanshu Mehta for his time online with us. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to invite someone very special, Mr. Krishna on the stage to present a memento to Mr. Chirag, Sheth, who's been steering this session very patiently over the last 1 hour. Let's have a... Ladies and gentlemen, may I request you to stay back on the stage for a group picture. Mr. Krishna is the General Manager for International Financial Services Centers Authority, IFSCA. Please requesting you to join us back on the stage for a group picture of the entire panel with Mr. Padmanabhan. You know, when we are ending towards the conference, the last knowledge session of the day, that is truly the test of resilience of the audience as to whether they can still, muster some round of applause or not. Thank you, everyone.